Act 1. The Eighth Wonder of the World. In the long and storied history of lost treasures, there are tales of sunken pirate gold, of pharaohs' hidden tombs, and of mythical cities paved with gold. But among all these legends, one stands apart, not for its imagined wealth, but for its documented, breathtaking reality. It was a treasure so magnificent, so unique, that it was dubbed the Eighth Wonder of the World. It was not a chest of jewels or a statue of gold, but an entire room, a chamber whose walls were crafted from one of nature's most beautiful and ancient gems, amber. This is the story of the Amber Room, a masterpiece of art, a symbol of imperial power, and the subject of one of the greatest, most obsessive treasure hunts in modern history. Our story begins in the early 18th century, in the ambitious and burgeoning kingdom of Prussia. The first king of Prussia, Frederick I, was a man obsessed with art, luxury, and demonstrating the power of his new kingdom to the rest of Europe. He envisioned a creation that would rival the splendor of the French court at Versailles. He commanded his finest craftsmen to build something the world had never seen, a room whose walls would be entirely paneled with exquisite, hand-carved amber. Amber, often called the gold of the North, is fossilized tree resin, treasured since antiquity for its warm, golden beauty. The artisans, led by the master craftsman Gottfried Wolfram, undertook a monumental task. For over a decade they labored, fitting together more than 6 tons of precious Baltic amber. The walls were a mosaic of perfectly cut panels, adorned with intricate carvings, gilded moldings, and Florentine mosaics made of other precious stones. Large mirrors were set into the amber walls, designed to reflect the light of hundreds of candles, creating a dazzling, immersive experience. When completed and installed in the Berlin City Palace, the effect was said to be magical. To step inside the Amber Room was to be bathed in a warm, golden, honey-like glow, a feeling of being inside a giant, living jewel box. It was a masterpiece of Baroque art, a testament to human ingenuity and the beauty of nature. But the room's home in Prussia would be short-lived. In 1716, the pragmatic son of Frederick I, King Frederick William I, was seeking a powerful political alliance with the rising star of Europe, Tsars Russia, led by the formidable Peter the Great. During a state visit, the Tsar was so mesmerized by the Amber Room that the Prussian king saw an opportunity. In a grand gesture of diplomatic goodwill, Frederick William I gifted the entire, priceless room to Peter the Great, a gift designed to seal their alliance against their common enemy, Sweden. The logistics of moving an entire room across Europe were staggering. The massive amber panels were carefully dismantled, packed into 27 large crates, and transported overland to St. Petersburg. It was a journey of over 1,000 miles. Upon its arrival, it became the crown jewel of the Russian Tsars, a symbol of their immense wealth and their connection to the sophisticated courts of Western Europe. But the room's journey and its transformation was not yet complete. Act 2. The Jewel of the Tsars. In Russia, the Amber Room found home grander than any it had known before. After initially being installed in the Winter Palace, it was moved in 1755 by Peter the Great's daughter, Empress Elizabeth, to its most famous location, the magnificent Catherine Palace at Tsarskoye Selo, the Tsar's village, just outside St. Petersburg. The room was to be the centerpiece of her opulent summer residence. However, the new space was significantly larger than the original Berlin chamber. The Empress commissioned her own master craftsmen, led by the Italian architect Bartolomeo Francesco Rastrelli, to expand and embellish the masterpiece. Over the next several years, the Russian artisans integrated the original Prussian panels into a much larger design, adding more amber sourced from the Baltics, more gilded carvings, more mosaics, and more mirrors. The room grew in size and splendor, becoming a dazzling fusion of Prussian and Russian artistry. When it was finished, it covered more than 55 square meters and was lit by 565 candles, their flames reflecting endlessly in the mirrors and the polished amber, creating an effect of pure magic. For nearly 200 years, the Amber Room served as a meditation chamber, a gathering room, and a private reception hall for the Tsars. It witnessed the grandeur of Catherine the Great, the turmoil of the Napoleonic Wars, and the final, tragic days of the last Tsar, Nicholas II. It was a silent witness to history, a room that had become a legend, a priceless symbol of Russia's imperial glory. After the Russian Revolution of 1917, the Bolsheviks, despite their opposition to the opulence of the Tsars, recognized the Amber Room's immense historical and artistic value. The Catherine Palace was turned into a public museum, and the Amber Room became its most popular attraction. For 2 decades, millions of ordinary citizens and international tourists alike marveled at its golden beauty, unaware that a dark storm was gathering in the West, a storm that would rip this treasure from its home and cast into the realm of mystery forever. Act 3, The Nazi Heist. In June of 1941, the fragile peace in Europe was shattered. Adolf Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the massive, brutal Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union. The German army advanced with terrifying speed, blitzing across Eastern Europe, their sights set on the great cities of Leningrad, Moscow, and Stalingrad. As the Wehrmacht closed in on Leningrad, the city now known again as St. Petersburg, the curators and staff of the Catherine Palace faced a desperate race against time to save the priceless treasures under their care. They worked frantically, packing up thousands of artifacts, evacuating them to the safety of the deep Soviet interior. But when they came to the Amber Room, they faced a catastrophic problem. Over the centuries, the amber panels had become dry and brittle. When they attempted to dismantle them, the delicate amber began to crumble. Fearing they would destroy the masterpiece if they continued, they made a fateful decision. They would not move it. They would try to hide it. The curators covered the precious amber walls with a flimsy disguise. They pasted cheap wallpaper over them, hoping to fool the invaders into thinking it was just an ordinary, unremarkable room. It was a desperate, almost naive attempt to hide the 8th wonder of the world in plain sight. It did not work. When the Nazi soldiers captured the town of Tsarskoye Selo in September 1941, they knew exactly what they were looking for. The Amber Room was legendary throughout Europe. Under the supervision of the Nazis' art-looting division, a group of German soldiers and art experts descended on the Catherine Palace. They ripped down the wallpaper, and there it was, glowing in the dim light. In a feat of cold, methodical efficiency, they dismantled the entire Amber Room in just 36 hours. The priceless panels, carvings, and mosaics were carefully packed into 27 crates and loaded onto a train bound for the heart of the Third Reich. The destination for the stolen masterpiece was Königsberg Castle, in what was in East Prussia, the capital of the amber trade. Today, the city is known as Kaliningrad, a Russian exclave on the Baltic Sea. In Königsberg Castle, the Amber Room was reassembled and put on display, a trophy of war and a symbol of Nazi conquest. For a brief period in 1942 and 1943, it was exhibited to the public, the last time the original Amber Room would be seen in its complete glory. But the tides of war were turning. The Red Army was pushing back with relentless force. The skies over Germany were filled with Allied bombers. The Amber Room in the city of Königsberg itself was now on borrowed time. Act 4 vanished into smoke and rubble. By late 1944, the war on the Eastern Front had become a nightmare for the Nazis. The Red Army was advancing, and East Prussia was directly in its path. Königsberg, once a symbol of German power, was now a fortress under siege. In August of 1944, Britain's Royal Air Force subjected the city to a series of devastating bombing raids, turning much of the historic city center into a sea of fire and rubble. Königsberg Castle was heavily damaged. Sometime during this chaotic period, the order was given to dismantle the Amber Room once again. The precious panels were packed back into their 27 crates and moved to the castle's cavernous cellars for safekeeping. And this is where the trail goes cold. This is the moment the Amber Room disappears from history and enters the realm of legend. What happened to those 27 crates in the final, desperate months of the war? The historical record is a confusing mess of conflicting reports and eyewitness accounts. Some say they saw the crates being loaded onto a train bound for an unknown destination in Germany. Others claim the crates were loaded onto a ship in Königsberg's port. The last definitive sighting was a report from the castle's director, Alfred Rohde, an amber expert who was obsessed with the room. In early 1945, he reported that the crates were still in the castle. Then, in April 1945, the final, brutal Soviet assault on the city began. After days of bloody street fighting, Königsberg fell. The castle was a smoldering, gutted ruin. When Soviet art recovery teams entered the rubble of the castle, they found no trace of the Amber Room. The 27 crates, containing the eighth wonder of the world, had vanished. The castle's director, Alfred Rohde, and his wife also disappeared, reportedly dying of typhus, though some suspect they were interrogated and executed by Soviet intelligence. They took whatever secrets they had to their graves. The simplest and perhaps most likely explanation is that the Amber Room was simply destroyed. The crates, stored in the castle cellars, could have been consumed by the fires that raged through the castle during the Allied bombing and the final Soviet assault. Amber is a resin. It burns. It's possible the world's greatest amber masterpiece was reduced to a cloud of fragrant smoke and a pile of ash. But this explanation has never satisfied treasure hunters. For one, amber burns with a very distinctive, pine-like smell. In a fire that massive, surely some among the thousands of soldiers and civilians would have reported smelling it. No such reports were ever widely confirmed. The lack of a definitive death certificate for the room has fueled a global treasure hunt that has lasted for over 75 years. Act 5. The Global Treasure Hunt. The search for the Amber Room has become an obsession for governments, intelligence agencies, and private treasure hunters alike. It is a quest filled with tantalizing clues, dead ends, and a surprising amount of tragedy, giving rise to the legend of the Amber Room curse. One of the most persistent theories is that the crates were moved from the castle just before its destruction and hidden somewhere in the vast network of secret tunnels and mines that the Nazis used to store their stolen treasures. Expeditions have scoured salt mines in Austria, bunkers in Germany, and tunnels in Poland, following up on cryptic clues and the deathbed confessions of former Nazi soldiers. Every few years, a new team announces a promising lead, a new sonar anomaly, a new hidden chamber. But each time, the search has ended in disappointment. Another popular theory takes the search to the bottom of the Baltic Sea. This theory suggests that the crates were loaded onto a German military transport ship, such as the MV Wilhelm Gustloff, which was sunk by a Soviet submarine in January 1945 while evacuating German personnel from East Prussia. It was the deadliest maritime disaster in history. Could the Amber Room be lying in a watery grave? Amidst the wreckage of that tragic ship, dives have been conducted. But the wreck is a protected war grave, and finding specific crates within its deteriorating hull is a nearly impossible task. Many Russian investigators have long believed that the room never even left the city of Königsberg, now Kaliningrad. They believe the crates are still buried in the secret, now flooded catacombs and tunnels that lie beneath the site of the former castle. The Soviet government blew up the castle ruins in the 1960s, making any systematic archaeological search of the area incredibly difficult and dangerous. The hunt for the room was a particular obsession for the East German secret police, the Stasi, who spent decades and a fortune chasing down leads. This is where the legend of the curse takes hold. General George Stein, a key figure in the Stasi's Amber Room search, was found dead in a forest in 1987, a supposed suicide that his family has always claimed was a murder. Another treasure hunter, a former German soldier, was murdered in his cellar after claiming he knew the room's location. These and other mysterious deaths have added a sinister layer to the legend, a warning to those who would seek the lost masterpiece. In 1997, the mystery took a stunning turn. German art crime detectives received a tip and raided the office of a lawyer in northern Germany. They found an original Florentine mosaic panel and a chest of drawers, both identified as being part of the original Amber Room. The lawyer claimed his client had acquired them legally. The pieces were eventually returned to Russia, the first pieces of the original room to be found since the war. This discovery proved that at least some parts of the room had survived, and it reignited the hope that the rest of it might still be out there, waiting to be found. Act 6, A Legend Reborn. While the hunt for the original continues, Russia decided it would not wait for the treasure to be found. In 1979, the Soviet government approved a monumental project to build the Amber Room again from scratch. For over 24 years, a team of 40 Russian artisans and restorers worked tirelessly, using old black and white photographs and a single original color drawing as their guide. It was a task of incredible difficulty. The original techniques for carving and coloring the amber had been lost time. The craftsmen had to rediscover these lost arts through years of trial and error. They sourced new amber from the Baltic region and painstakingly recreated every panel, every mosaic, every gilded carving. The project cost over $11 million. Finally, in 2003, on the 300th anniversary of the city of St. Petersburg, the new, reconstructed Amber Room was unveiled to the world in the Catherine Palace. It is a stunning, breathtaking masterpiece, a testament to the resilience of art and the dedication of the craftsmen who brought it back to life. It allows millions of visitors a year to experience the same sense of golden, magical wonder that so captivated Peter the Great 3 centuries ago. And yet, the original remains lost. Its monetary value is estimated to be as high as $500 million, making it the most valuable single piece of lost art in the world. But its true value is immeasurable. It is a symbol of a lost world of imperial splendor and a tragic reminder of the cultural devastation of war. The story of the Amber Room is a detective story with no final page, a treasure hunt with no map. It is a legend that continues to evolve, a mystery that continues to call out from the shadows of history, promising unimaginable beauty and untold secrets. It is the eighth wonder of the world, lost but never, ever forgotten,